So everybody, it's Amon here. Welcome back to another one of Amon's versus Battles. Talks. Hope you guys having a great day. This is gonna be a long form case of a video with me talking about who win the fight. The God of War's version of two of these great pantheons, the Greek pantheon from God of War or the Norse pantheon. Two great A form of gods and beings at all different parts of their world colliding together. Hope you guys will enjoy it. Just want to go ahead and say a disclaimer real quick and fast forward through this to go and make this clear. We're talking about all stages of matter for involving the gods, not just the Aesir gods, but all gods that would count as ancestors of Greek mythology. I'll run over them. We're talking about some of their creatures. We're talking full world form of Asian that goes for Greek mythology and Norse mythology indirectly. I'll go and explain this a little bit more. I just want to go and run that there. Hope you guys will enjoy. It's going to get popping to it.
Tokyo drifting, I got all these bitches got mad on me. If you wanna get with it, she wanted my dick and she said it open in my whip and a rubber. I got her the face like damn. She wanna be from a chicken just playing. You want it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. Got a new block with the stitches from wicked, so rest now. Fuck my bitch on Tokyo drifting, I got all these bitches got mad on me. If you wanna get with it, she wanted my dick and she said it open in my whip and a rubber. I got her the face like damn. She wanna be from a chicken just playing. You want it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. Got a new block with the stitches, so wicked, so rest now. Damn, get on, bitch, I only spend like 10 on this little bitch want me cause I'm on shit you want is beef, I get on quick, got Louis and Prada, I got a new chopper, you say you my favorite little bitch, I got none, I got hoes up in Cabo, my fate on design, I can't come for no doubt on these naughties is bitches, let me catch my breath, teach way fucking class with a Magdalene, teach me how to rap, when it's time to test the big rats, blue bills, when it's time to check, big rats, blue bills, you top move, kill from 5 main strap, I'm a that, okay, I'll get 2 mil 1 year, big deal, just
So for the conversation of today, as I've already spoken about in the intro by today's title, is God of War's Greek mythology versus Greek pantheon versus the Norse pantheon. To explain more in depthly in the sacred god involving the pantheon and what it's about and all these different things that will come into play with it, I speak of the actual case of mythology with all the saints of the gods, meaning the case of obviously the gods themselves and all the creatures and beings compiled into it, really pitting the characters pound for pound versus each other. If you guys thought it was supposed to be a form of the gods family, that is reasonable. I want to have a full scale war, as it's been a minute since I've done something like this, and the last time I did do this was when I was making the total war between Overwatch versus Talon, and technically in the sense for Overwatch versus the 7, but and this is going to be a lot more concise, a lot more in depth. I tried recording this before in different form, and it kind of went weird for me, especially having a timer and not necessarily feeling about. I feel like I didn't put out as much sense of love and effort into it. So I'm going to try to go and be as in depth, critical, and reasonable with this, giving you guys good power scaling, giving you a good overlook of your scenes, the characters, reading about them, giving a big foreshadowing during case of matter for lore and depthness that talks about them and our scenes and things like that, giving you a storyboard for these different form of characters and all that pretty much. Again, I want to go ahead and say one of this coming again is going to be all different cases of people within both. Again, gods to all the former beings within the sense of the Greek gods, and in the third corner you have Zeus, king of the sky, king of Olympus, god of lightning, the person overwatch the mortals in Greek, seeing what they have to offer to him in the sense of support is in the same instance of showcasing his power, illustrious capabilities, and what he reckons in the form of overarching case of matter for power case in the sense of what a god can bring in the same sense. In God of War, he's accurate to the form of how he is overarchingly run as a character in Greek mythology, a beast in the same sense of power in their cases, but a very narcissistic, sexual deviant, unloyal piece of shit that is pretty much the equivalent of Homelander if he actually was in the status of a god, pretty much. An out-of-pocket hoodlum. I swear, this man Zeus is top 5 to number 1 most down bad cornball deadbeat out-of-pocket person possible. And within the Greek gods, he holds overwhelming power that no other person has ever been able to do, as obviously being, again, the god of the sky, king of Olympus, and the strongest main line of the Greek gods, excluding Kratos, because obviously Kratos is not going to be in this, because we're just having the main line paying up the pit, and especially because of the fact that the Kratos and God of War has changed drastically from the basis of what the Kratos being Kratos in the form of Greek mythology being shown for. But within what some like Zeus and the other Greek gods have, the status of great power, great deal of hacks, capabilities to get around, move, and divert different people in different forms, and things like that. But then you have the Norse pantheon. They're a lot more kind of like grounded in the sense of being eternal people and not full-fledged immortals or people bargaining so much great capability and strength. It would be different. You have the home of Asgard instead of the form of Mount Olympus in comparison to the Greek gods, with their king of the gods, king to the sky, god of ravens, great fertility, god of Asgard, and holding a bear of the most powerful stance of power crew in all the 9 realms. The realm most eternal, Asgard's king, Odin, the Allfather, the one-eyed god, the Wanderer, the old man with a stick that could pull magic beyond comprehension. In the case of God of War, he is a selfish, knowledgeable, narcissistic, hungry bastard that will do anything to get his knowledge and is a trickster and plays a lot with other people and looks like your uncle that be drinking half of the beer in the house with no care at all. But with that as well being said, he's also a very brutal tactician, a very brutal form of a wise old man that will do anything to get what he wants. And if you fuck around with him, he will put you in the dirt. He'll kill his own son and do the most out-of-pocket things to go ahead and get what he wants. Him mixed with Zeus are both bad, but one is more bad than the other, being the form of a rapist and one being a liar and thief to get what he wants. The man killed his own technical sins as a creator to uphold power, even though maybe to his defense this will bring a lot more, but in this world it really is just shown that this man, Odin, did it just to accompany more power and use his body to reform things in his own image, as that's what he pretty much did in the form of Norse mythology. But for him, killing Ymir would bring new age for the world instead of just being stuck in where it was. He killed it for the sense of natural reformment, not necessarily for selfish reasons. In this case, it was selfish. It's still bad, but it's like, one more is more the same of being bad in this instance. Time to go and talk about both saints' histories and what they bring to the table in a bigger power strike. We're going to go ahead and go back to the Greek gods of God of War, the mighty of the Greek lands. Time to read some quotes and talk with the Greek gods. Go with the gods, Kratos. Go forth in the name of Olympus. The 3 most powerful of the Greek gods, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. Zeus being the king of the sky, Poseidon the king of the seas, and Hades the king of the underworld. The Greek gods of the pantheon who ruled over Greece, including all animals, monsters, and mortals. The Olympians had a king, Zeus, who reigned over both man and fellow gods from his divine throne on Mount Olympus. They served as minor protagonists in the first game, helping Kratos with his quest to kill Ares. However, as the series progressed, they turned into one of the series' main antagonists and tried to kill Kratos. Greek mythology. The gods, along with the Titans, are supreme mythical beings that can create and control all kinds of magic and power. In Greek mythology, the gods, also called the Olympians, were the principal gods of the Greek pantheon, residing atop Mount Olympus, a place forbidden for any mortal to travel unless given direct authorization to do so by the gods themselves. The 6 original Olympians were Hades, Hestia, Poseidon, Demeter, Hera, and Zeus. Later on, there were 12 true Olympians, which included Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Ares, Hermes, Hephaestus, Aphrodite, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Dionysus, and Hestia, who later gave up her throne for Dionysus. Hades was not included because he resided in his home of the underworld, rarely speaking with any of the other gods. The 12 mighty Olympians gained their supremacy in the world after Zeus led his siblings to victory in the war with the Titans. The 6 original Olympians were the children of Kronos and AmonRa, Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Hestia, and Hades, Ares, Hermes, Hephaestus, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, the Charites, Hercules, Dionysus, the Muses, Hebe, and Persephone were children of Zeus, and Aphrodite was born of sea foam from Kratos' mains. I don't know if you say his name right. It was Oronos or Quotinos or I don't know. It's fucking Greek. It's spelled Ouranos apostrophe S. So it's supposed to be like Okonos or Okolos, like not as like with Cuba, quote, like that. I don't know. Whatever the case, I mean, I'm glad I know Solomon Reed, but anyway, remains were all later recognized as Olympians. Helios, Os, and Selene are other important Olympians and goddesses which are sometimes included in a group of 12. Greeks of good age know of poetry about the war between the gods and titans. The dominant one and the only one that had survived was in the theory attributed to Hesiod, a lost epic to a lot of that does not matter. If you want to go ahead and full read about the Greek gods' history within God of War, you can go to the God of War wiki of Greek gods. You can do that search. It's credited by them. I also want to give you guys a little bit of history. But besides staying to history, let's talk about the power scaling. As if you were watching this, you considerably know about Greek mythology, maybe a little bit of Norse mythology and stuff like that. But pretty much the Greek gods are these great immortal beings that hold a bunch of great control, and Zeus is the powerful of them, taking the throne from his father and the legacy of son killing father to gain more power, and then the cycle will continue with Uranus being the original supreme god, then Kratos killing him, and then because Kratos was paranoid and was scared for his life within his fate of being killed by his own children, he decided to go ahead and swallow his children, all of them. And when Zeus came to be the last child to be swallowed, that sounds so terrible, this man would have his mom tuck him into cloth, have him carried away by his eagle that would later on be a symbol of power, and had a rock placed within the cloth that baby Zeus put in. And so from there, Zeus would grow up within the care from Gaia, and now would seek vengeance on the person that called for his and his brothers and sisters' death. And so he will wage war upon the Titans. And Zeus, anytime there's a possibility of a child being possibly to go ahead and kill him, he will make all type of stops to go and stop them. And when he heard from the fates of his world, being that a boy that had a skull mark slash tattoo would kill him, he went after his son Deimos, who was born with that birthmark. But he did not know later on, after years, that his other son, Kratos, would get that skull mark tattoo on his body, as you see with Kratos on the left side, you know, Caucasian, the Rock himself, joke side though, and will go ahead and go out his way and kill his father in this instance, and the cycle would continue from there. And it would stop after that, as you know, it trades in like Merc Kratos. But with that being said, that's pretty much Zeus in this handful, involving this character, things like that. Their power, they have a great deal of things, multiple form of hacks for magic, battlefield removal, soul hacks from Hades, great strength for being the strongest of them all. They have multiple different form of creatures, from the Kraken all the way to this same instance having the Hydra, along with also in the form of Typhon being an off-brand Titan in the case of a monster as well, and multiple case math for gods. This battle is going to be taking place on Olympus, so we're going to have home field advantage. But with this, it's going to be spread out all between the same instance of Olympus, and a lot of great case instances of the fighters and beings who will be popped into this to bring home the fight in the same instance. So if the Greek gods would have to go ahead and use all the different debris things, they're going to have their soldiers, their powerhouses, and all the informative things to go ahead and stack in comparison. If you want to know more about these different form of Greek gods, I go more in depth on the form of my God of War power scaling tier list. You could also go ahead and look up the YouTuber, a guy named Kratos, who in his own right is the greatest form of a God of War power scaler, and I trust in that, and I feel like a lot of his points and big talks are realistic. And you could go, if you want to know about God of War's mainline cosmology, you can go look into that, different things like that. I'm just giving off my thoughts slash talking about it in a different form, and it's just simply a baseline thing. So with all the form of the gods, especially the three heavy hitters in the form of Zeus, Poseidon, Hades and stuff, will bring the power to these different form of gods and things like that. We're going to go ahead and talk about the Norse gods, the beings of the cold, and the beings that you see in the form of God of War 4 and Ragnarok and different tie-in comics and novels. Next is the form of the Norse gods. Norse gods are obviously way different from the form of Norse gods of Norse mythology, but at the same time they still hold some credibility in the sense of some accuracy in comparison. Just obviously this form, so it has a form of making sense for someone like Kratos to kill them and making them more in depth, but still having a bad sting to them in the same regard for God of War. With that being said, with these gods and different things like that, they have a lot more, how should I say this, better means in the case of their character comparison to the Greek gods. As obviously you know about Norse gods, they are generally good form of different gods in comparison to the Greek gods. As not every former Greek god was a bad person to say, but a lot of them were saying that crop of being the douchebags you would think. We also fooled the boys stance into being jackasses. Now these are former Norse gods hold better means in comparison to saying into being good, but we're not all full perfect. Being said, and again, there's some credibility in the sense of having some stasis of accuracy, but not full sting, the touch of being full-fledged accurate, because they are still plated in some certain cases of being bad but having realistic forms, especially since Thor from God of War is my favorite video game character of 2022. Next to right now, it's feeling like General Radon from Elden Ring, which I think I might go ahead and pop up some videos, but right now I'm just full putting together some things, and by the time you get this, these videos will come out at a longer date. Again, quality over quantity. Be patient, you will get what is banger and delivered, okay? Chill. But with this being said, talk about the Norse gods and who they are. The Aesir and Vanir fighting each other during the Aesir-Vanir War was a big bumping battle involving all these different cases of beings fighting for bigger means. In the same instance, for Odin going over to go ahead and conquer and make new means because of the fact, okay, sorry for that. Either way, they can do different things for their people, but in this same instance, the Vanir defending against Asgard because Asgard was full raiding and running their stuff. It only be stopped to Mimir would make a form of peace treaty within the form of Freya marrying the Allfather to stop her people from getting slaughtered because Asgard realistically would outweigh them 10-1. But in this, Freya obviously did not want to go marry Odin and only join with him because of the fact that she wanted to help her people. She did not actually love Odin in a sense of the way. But in the case of her love would come together from something else from Odin, and that being Balder, the son of Freya and Odin. Balder, because of his overprotective mother after this big bumping battle in the form of the Aesir versus Vanir, would be blessed with immortality and blessed with the grace of not having to be hurt by any form of physical, magical, external, possible grade A hacks capability. This meaning that if you cut his head off, cracked his neck, hurt him ridiculously, even threw fucking Milner at him, he would always possibly come back, at least in the sense of external sense, as possibly if you cut off his head. We don't know if vines will grow from his head, like, I don't know, a mummy from Ben 10 and regrow his head in a regenerative state, or the fact that he could survive with his head being cut off, and any form of magical defense, or in case of offense, would not be able to kill him in any type of way. Even though we don't know the full extent of it because he only appeared in one game and they don't really go more in depth, most likely soul hacks, different configuration, and conceptual eraser could kill him, and that's a thing that will downfall him. But he can take a lot of different shots, and he can take out a great deal of people because people cannot break him up or actually kill him in the same sense. So I would say proudly that he would be able to take out a lot of these inner people, especially in comparison to someone like Hades, because of the fact that Hades, way he does his soul taking is pretty much tug of war with your spirit, and if your spirit constantly aligns with the strength of your actual character, you should be able to break apart that capability to take away his hacks. I mean, that's just kind of the best way to perceive it, because someone like Kratos, someone like he just big bodied him when it came down to his soul hacks. So I would say Balder has enough strength, especially in some cases kind of like Puff of Paul bucking with somebody like Kratos. So it would easily be that. And the only thing that could be able to enchant a way to go and stop Balder is with a mistletoe enchanted within the grace of Freya to be the only thing that could possibly hurt Balder, as she deflected every form of something that could hurt him except for this. Now in the game, somebody does just a magical thing that could just hurt her son because it's beyond the boundaries her being able to stop. But in Norse mythology, she just didn't think it would hurt him, and this would be the thing to accidentally kill him. So it's just a unfortunate thing, right, that would happen to him later on, as technically the Mistletoe would break away the enchantment that ingrains him with these capabilities, and he would die. with his capabilities of enchantment and stuff, he would be unstoppable force that no one will be able to stop, because simply just being way too powerful and not being able to be stopped by anyone in any instance. Within this 11 different form of people that Odin has slept with, Odin will have many different form of sons, with his most popular being Thor. Odin, somewhat I deeply talked about in the form of God of War Thor versus God of War Hercules, and pretty much self-explanatory. Thor is the greatest giant killer. His Mala, the man with blacker force energy, the guy your girlfriend told you not to worry about, is the father to Magni, Modi, and Sif. Is his wife, beloved Shorty, and he, with her at last end, would have the youngest daughter in this case through, and he is also the half brother to Balder, Heimdall, a bunch of other case of kids. Odin and Zeus got it on with a bunch of females. I mean, this man Zeus will fuck the universe, and this man Odin fucked a giant. So I mean, at this point, like, he's got a bunch of kids. It's just random. I swear to God, they child support be up. Jokes aside, though, let's go ahead and go back talking to the sacred god of the history and stuff. The Norse gods are the main pantheon of the deities of God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok. They are one of the most powerful races to inhabit the Nine Realms and are viewed as protectors of Midgard and mankind. The Norse gods are mainly divided into two tribes: the strong and warlike Aesir and the magical and nature-loving Vanir. Norse mythology quiz, nothing to look about. But the Aesir gods are more aggressive and warlike than the Vanir, representing the brute strength and raw power of nature. They also believe that the only way for someone to achieve an honorable death is to fall in battle, with everything else being seen as cowardly and shameful. Not the butt of it, but Aesir gods: Biri, Busta, Bor, father of Odin, Odin himself, Vil, V, Thor, Tyr, Heimdall, Balder, Mele, Holder, Bragi, Hrandi, Sif, Olum, Vidar, Nani, Magni, Modi, Thrud, Forseti, Onan, Ola, and there's some other form of different Norse gods, and I don't know if these people were referenced in the case of two former God of War games, but these are people, if you compare Norse mythology, that some cases will do some, and then we have some other form of different beings within their creatures and different things like that. That's the general form of the scripture, so synopsis of the case of their history. What they have done in the same instance, someone like Odin has a great deal of hacks. He killed Ymir, which is a supreme cosmic being within this world, and that would scale him ridiculously up, especially being highball, maybe damn near stronger than Kratos, in the sense of using all these multiple different cases of hacks and things like that. Is the father to Thor, is the strongest of the Norse gods within his magic and different capabilities, and is just ridiculously powerful and could never, and I repeat, could never truly be stopped in comparison. So with his capabilities, he stacks ridiculously high. Someone like him is ridiculously powerful, and within the form of the force of the Norse gods, some other people cannot stack in comparison. So I would say that's pretty good from synopsis of both former pantheons. Now we're going to be talking about people being pit to pit, talking about their forces and things like that. Let's go and get into that. For what the gods scale to in comparison with each other is going to be interesting, because it's multi different types of attack. Again, if you want to see my tier list, or go to the guy named Kratos that goes over a little bit more, you can, where it's going to be placing them in their precautions and plausible form of what they could do. So right now we're going to start with the fodder and then rise up to the bigger high stage scale in comparison. Excuse me, and that's it. I'm talking about characters indirectly. So when it comes down to the armies, the Greek gods, it's the most instance of monsters, minotaurs, and their mainline Greek Olympia army, which are pretty much eternal form soldiers. They're stacked with all the different debris of more grand scale warrior stuff. The Norse gods have their saints that are in creatures, then their form soldiers that have passed Jotuns, great powerful Aesir soldiers that could possibly stand, but at the same time, the AmonRa is going to be the most overlasting and the most endurance intensing form of army, as they will stack the most because they always come back and they cannot die unless the creator has passed or you demolish their entire form of source pool of them, because they are always said to be coming back as the Valhallian soldiers. They always come back, and it's not an overstatement to go ahead and say that they stand probably the most tallest in the form of the war, as will be always over ending and can never falter in the same sense of stacking to these different people. So when it comes down to who will do more, the Olympian army raises the most possibility, but I feel like the form of the AmonRa and all these different form of beings from the Norse world will be a rack of all trades to kind of like stalemate the middle battleground. Now it's time to talk about different characters that stack comparison to them. In this instance, it would be the most iconic fight I think people are going to be looking forward to, and that would be in the sense of Zeus versus Odin. Two former All-Fathers in their own right. But right now I want to go and talk about Thor versus Hercules, get out the way, and it's in that's kind of simple. As you see, Thor is not as strong as Odin. My man is dying for Odin to prick this bald bitch. But rest in peace to Thor, our burly ginger. Rest in peace. But Thor versus Hercules is simple. I've already explained that Thor will best him. He will dominate him. He will crack him. The man will probably be able to go and whack him from timelines if he wanted to, so he will lose. Then next, we have Heimdall versus Hermes. Hermes is more ridiculously fast, but his cockiness will put him off the backboard, and I think proudly he will lose, and he will not be able to do anything in comparison and will get fodderized. Simple. He just will not be able to stack in comparison and will get fucked, and there's nothing he will be able to do in comparison. So overall, when it comes down to saying sense of standing in comparison and what they can do, I think someone like Heimdall will just overarchingly best him because he has more form of skill, he has better sense hacks, he could actually be dualistic, and in this ain't the fight, he will beat him. Now, in comparison, who win the fight? Someone like Garm, aka Fenrir, which combine both Saiyans characters because they're both working on right. No Garm, I would say beats Fenrir because more brutalities his field, and the fact that he can be resurrecting himself back to back and run it up, and Fenrir is actually forming more to his soul inside a body, and actually has a technical case of form to actually go and die. If we would put Garm versus mainline Cerberus, I think Garm would win all around, even if they're both devilish form creatures that will be going toe to toe for a big while. I think overall only one survives more than the other in this regard, so that's how I feel in comparison with that. Then we have someone like Hades fighting someone like the Bird of Helheim. High variable in comparison within the form of what she could do. If we compare her having great A specialties, I would probably say Hades wins because more consistency and it's an older show of power base, and someone like her does not have that. So if we want to compare them, then Hades would win in comparison. Next, we have Tyr versus Ares, and this is the real Tyr, not fake Tyr in comparison. If we just use the probability that Tyr was on a scale in Norse mythology, having a great deal of war practitioner capabilities and could lead out charge with the Norse gods and stack comparison, even in the stampede of power that someone like Ares would overrule. Ares has way more hacks, his rock with Kratos was Paul with him for the most part, in the sense as a matter for God of War 1, and would just do a lot more than anybody here, probably in a war for showing sense, even though we've never seen Ares fully lead out a charge and just be a warhammer of a god in comparison by himself. I overall think that someone like Ares bests him. He just will be too much and is more ridiculously powerful than anything someone like Tyr's ever shown. So Ares bests him. Athena, base slash Athena before she becomes a literal concept of something such as a form, versus Freya. I believe Freya will go and win because she just holds more in the rack of magic, can outdo her, I feel like, in fighting skill. And I feel like Freya has done more, and Athena has not really showed too much in comparison. And in this version, she is weaker than Ares, but I'm not saying Ares is baseline weak. I just don't think she would stack as much, unfortunately, because it's in regard for what she can bring to the table in a full showing fight. So I would say Freya beats Athena in comparison. Now, when it comes down to someone like Magni versus someone like Perseus, I feel like Magnes, I've already made a video about him, shameless plugs all around here, about what his potential is in comparison to his father, the big burly god of thunder. I feel like Magni would desecrate him. Even if Perseus can play around him, Magni would be, I would say, considered smart enough to go and figure out his stuff. And at the end of the day, Perseus cannot hurt him, so he's getting fatherized. Doesn't matter. Modi versus the guy that was dick riding Zeus and saying foolish mortal Kratos, you could ever get to Zeus. It's not like I got his whole cock in my mouth. That dude, I feel like Modi will best, because even playing a possible comparison to Magni, and at the same time just having more hacks, and I feel like Magni could just dog him if they are both together, because realistically they both be inseparable because of the fact that they are correlated together. Because the thing is, if we're separating them, maybe the dude could do more, even though I don't know that much about him in comparison for an overall status of his power. But I feel like Modi can handle him. But if they're both together, in person, this dude are fighting, I feel like Magni and Modi as a team, they're going to wreck them. There will be nothing they can do to stand in comparison to them. So I see that going in their stance as a choice. Hold on a second. So, his also seem a little bit off-put in my head. But anyway, put it forward in regard of what I was saying. Simply, I feel like the same instance of most different Norse gods stack more higher as the Norse gods for being the next installment of God of War. Realistically, hold more place of power comparatively because of the fact that they are obviously facing more stronger versions of different characters, a stronger version of Kratos, and they have done more because obviously they're holding in time. Some of them are still alive. Stuff like that. Like, it's just like how you put that in comparison. Like, just other characters are alive and do more in the same regard for someone like, in comparison, Perseus, in comparison to Magni. One holds more, and one did more. One extremely did more in comparison to Kratos. So I'd say Magni beats him. Next, if you wanted to put Atreus, aka Loki, here's technically counts. Atreus fighting someone like Deimos would be interesting. I think Atreus has done so well, especially with his hacks, especially with his bear form, and the fact that Deimos hold his own, but in stack so much more better than I would say considerably the case of the lone Spartan soldier, that he would not do as fully much to a point where he would be able to best Atreus. If he gets his hands on him, maybe he might be able to stick him, right? But I don't know if he really could close him out, you know. And I feel like Atreus would be smart, keep his guard up in the same instances of grade A place of offense and defense, be on his corner Kingway, as you hear in the background, Assassin's Creed 3 music. And I feel like I could put him down if he needs to, full, even if they might be family and this person being his uncle and being told about him, at least depending on the sense of what you do in God of War Ragnarok. So he'll put him down, put him out of commission. Simple. Next, we have Angerboda, in the sense to be mentioned this to Loki, the god of mischief, with someone like Fenrir as the main player person that will come into play. Let's put them against the Kraken. I feel like they'll win. It will be a tough form of battle. It really just depends on stuff. Next, let's go ahead and put Poseidon versus someone like probably say someone like Fafnir in the Dragon State. Poseidon solo, simple, dominate him. Then another grand scheme of different characters can't be mixed for a list of people. I would say Thor would wreck and ham a lot of different people and take them out of commission, and a lot of them couldn't stack realistically just because of the ridiculous power that they hold. You have Freyr with Ingrid, the magical, fighting by itself sword, and technically magical, talking to the extent stasis of the sword, where it has all these different stock of different magical splurge capabilities that could rival different form of characters like that. I feel like it would be very interesting. But if I had to say someone, so he would fight like in the case of Freyr fighting Athena, Freyr fighting someone like, what's his name? I forgot his name. Helios, yeah, Helios. Thinking possibly Apollo, but Apollo is not based on his shown. Isn't that much. There are feats chronically of him. I would say Freyr with Ingrid would do a lot more and could rival. It's kind of iffy on the basis of his speed and what he could do. So if we say that he can't rival out the speed of Helios, then Helios could just sunblast him and speed blitz him and highball disintegrate him. But I feel like you equal it out and like be consistent and make real sense. I think Freyr like shreds him without a doubt because Ingrid is just built different, and I even think Ingrid would just a little splurge of that shield and whine to get around and didn't flicker in it and having a Shinigami Kill Bill split action move happen. He probably gets dominated from there, and there's not that much he can do. But I don't know. I would say that's what happened. I'm kind of running out of case instances of people because not as much different case of Norse gods wasn't as much shown, and you just had to compare mythology. I'm trying to be realistic in the same regard for different people come in contact with. So if we want to go about that, I would proudly reckon that that person cannot stack to that person in comparison. So nah, ain't really nothing that someone like as we would stand a chance to. Let's talk about the two big dogs. Let's get to the top G's of the verse. Let's talk about Zeus, the god of the sky, versus Odin, the all-father of the Norse gods. Okay, so if we do base form and we try to just compare and be contingent on the basis of what they can do, as back in the day, even though Odin was featless by game, he had a bunch of different accounts and a bunch of highball wank takes about, you know, he's a very hacksy out there character, he can maneuver and is ridiculously powerful, especially in the grand case of stuff where this man does so much other stuff that where you try to stack to him, he would be impossible to fight. Now having a more consistent matter and just, you know, waging things out, I would say Odin is not of that same scale, but holds greatly in comparison in the same regard of power and stuff, that he would be able to do so much of hacks that Odin would be able to eviscerate and wreck someone like Zeus. I'm sorry because of the fact that I ate something at the same time I'm recording this, kind of tired. Woke up this 2 hours ago. I need full get on the energy, but I'm glad I'm able to be inside to solidify what I'm saying. You know, boy, you probably burn up here sometimes. But in the place of being in a full contingent sense, his hacks would do a lot. I don't think they would wreck Zeus and what he could do, as Zeus considerably has better sense of eternal hacks, more faster, more stronger, more under precaution, doing stuff more, and overarchingly I just feel like he'll do more to get the job done. Now Odin is very strong and versatile, so I feel like even though he might lose, it will be a very drawn out fight, and this will take a lot out of Zeus. I don't think Odin's going to be a slouch. But I definitely can understand the arguments if you say that Odin wins. I just think from what hacks they both have to counteract each other and the speed and all this shit, and Zeus duplicated himself, cloning himself, blend of electricity, shit like that, he might as well just fucking foderize him because of what he can do in comparison. But I definitely think, you know, it would be a good fight. But if Zeus goes into his fear amp, Odin's getting wrecked. There's nothing he could do. He's driving that man insane, bro. It's over for him. So I think in comparison to them, it will be a done G, because top G's interesting debate in the form of a fight I really would like. That'd be open thing. If you want to know more about Odin's stance and power, so you go watch Key Issues, talk about Odin's power scale, or read about more different stance stuff about Odin. Very powerful case of matter for a deity. Now we're just gonna do the last form of different characters that are on my mind right now from now, guys. Then I write this down again, this open form discussion. But is a total war type of form of something that can happen, right? And in this instance, it would be who would win comparatively in the stasis of you Kronos versus Surtur as two form primal form place of beings. Now Surtur, if we just high end say because of the fact that he has primordial fire and has been counted as great and powerful, and we compare stances of his base and what he can do as they put together Ragnarok as a being instead of being there's a form of event, even though it's technically both, then I would probably say that unless Kronos in the form of being where he is has some like ridiculous reversement of time hacks and it's kind of mixed, I would say Surtur could possibly win, right? Because of just what he brings out. But I can see argument be that Kronos would win. But if it's Ragnarok, then probably best say yes. Now, Prime Kronos, that might be a dungeon. not even an argument. But I don't know. I think it will be a very interesting fight. Nonetheless, I don't think it really matters in comparison in the cases of characters doing this and doing that in comparison. But it will be a very interesting fight. Nonetheless, like I said, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in comparison with it all around. I love y'all. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, Army. Love y'all.